Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here with my good friend Bruno Proal, and we're excited to sit down. We've talked about doing this for a while, so I'm glad we're finally able to make it happen. Um, One of the busiest men in show business here in the Central Coast, and I'm fortunate to. We've been friends for a while, but fortunate that we're finally playing together. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about kind of where you came from, how you got started, and how you became the busiest man in music in the Central Coast. and But
Thank you
anyway,
for
for
that
those
compliment. I wouldn't
right?
call it that, but thank you.
That means you're in demand. A lot of people want to play with you, which is a cool compliment as a musician. But for those that don't know you, kind of give us a background on where you're from, where you grew up, how you started, and how you got to where you are now.
Sure. Well, make a long story short, I was born in Mexico City and I was raised for the first 12 years next to it in Cuernavaca.
Oh wow.
And then after that, we moved near Cancun, a place called Puerto Morelos, where my dad, my brothers, and my mom moved. And then from there till I was 21, I did a lot of studying and side jobs, and music was always in there. Decided to come here to study music at Cabrillo College, and
Oh
that's
wow.
how I ended up in Santa Cruz because of a girlfriend that I had that was studying acting there in Cabrillo
Okay.
theater.
But
And that
before you got to Cabrillo, were you already a musician?
yeah. I started playing guitar when I was 10. My
Okay.
dad's a guitar player. He was a guitar player. He passed away 2 years ago. He was a bass player too. His brother was a bass player. They used to have a salsa and rumba band and play in Acapulco at the Copacabana, which was the hottest
Wow.
place at that time, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, more like 70s, I think.
Awesome.
Anyway, so I grew up with instruments around. My brother's a drummer as well, and my other brother, he was a guitar player as well. Um, but that's how I started, got initiated to music through my family, through my father.
Very cool.
Um,
Yeah, it's usually family or school or church, something like that.
that's
But
right.
okay, cool. So you grew up in a musical household, grew up in Mexico, amazing story. And then you wound up at Rio College in, I guess that's what, Aptos, Soquel, California.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny because I live like 5 blocks from Cabrillo College now.
Nice.
Like I moved here in 2001, 24 years later, I'm still close to the school,
Well, it's not a bad spot to be. I mean, it's not
Not at
like,
all.
it's not the middle of nowhere. It's a pretty sought after location.
It's chill and I love it. My wife loves it. We're pretty happy. Yeah.
Awesome. At what point in your time in Santa Cruz did it feel like, okay, this is home now? Because you've been there over 20 years now. What,
Yeah.
you know,
It took a little bit, it took a little bit adjusting to, a new language and a new culture, even a new sense of humor.
yeah,
The first few years, I would go out to parties and jam, crack a joke, and it'd be crickets, because it's completely different
some
sense
things
of
don't
humor.
translate.
It'd
Yeah.
be like, who brought the foreigner, so
Yeah.
like awkward moments and stuff. And to the day still happens, I'm still getting my bearings
That's awesome.
in this place. But yeah, after I would say, when I got the job at Mose Alley, which was 5 years into me living here,
Yeah.
I really started to feel my calling was coming into reality.
Yeah.
Like I was working live music shows every day on, a mid-sized venue that was bringing acts that are like very big names, for the size of the venue. And
Right.
I just got exposed to so much music every night.
Yeah.
And that's when I really started like realizing and learning so much about how the industry works as far as that size of shows. And I got my first band there, my first real band. It was an Afrobeat band, and I got it through musicians that played there.
Wow.
It was his name was called his band was called Danjuma in Onola, and I saw them play. It was like a 8-piece band. I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. And
Yeah.
I asked if I could play. They recruited me
Yeah.
and
Not
then from
everybody
then on.
knows that, but restaurants and venues become a great haven for musicians and artists that aren't quite ready to have a regular job, but they still obviously want to work and pay the bills, but also kind of be close to the fire, be close to the action. And I had a similar story after I stopped working in the church world. I started all of a sudden working in nightlife and venues and touring, and I was working at the Fox and Salinas and Planet Gemini in Monterey, and then I worked at Catalyst for a little while in different festivals. And you're right. It's like a job is a job, but at the same time, it's like every night you're getting to meet some of the people that you're a fan of, right? And whether it was comedy or music, you're getting to see the good, the bad, and the ugly of the business, right? And like you said,
Yes.
it's hard to put on a resume, you know. Well, I was more than just a bartender. I was security, I was booking agent, I was promoter,
Exactly.
I was all the things, right? So it sounds like you kind of did the same thing for Moe's Alley.
Absolutely, man. You just hit the nail in the head. Like you wear so many hats when you work at a mid-level music venue or mid-size that it's hard to put a label on it. You know,
Right.
I was mostly a head doorman, but I was also handling receiving the musicians, typing up the guest list, typing out ticket sales, selling tickets, checking IDs, and then settling with the band later on, having them sign a 1099, stuff like that. That's just,
It's a tough job, and
yeah,
and
it's
that
like
that says how much the owners had trust in you, because you have to
yeah,
have a lot of integrity to have that job, because it's really easy to not have integrity with that job. And tell us some stories about some of the crap that people tried to pull on you, being the kind of the gatekeeper to the party. I can't
it's
even imagine the shit that people try to pull on you over the years.
it's crazy, man. Because as soon as I got that head doorman job, I was at the door. I was the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
So suddenly my phone became very busy. Became like, oh my god, I had so many friends that I
Hey, like
didn't know
six
about.
Y's at the end.
Hey, buddy, like random
Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
just hitting me up and asking for, for favors and sold out shows. Can you get me in and stuff like that, which is great, but it's a tough position to be in because it's a
Stressful.
small venue,
Yeah,
and the owner, Bill Welch, shout out to Bill Welch,
yeah,
amazing businessman, amazing venue owner. He was a tough dude. So he'd
yeah.
be right there, on my shoulder, like making sure I wasn't like hooking up my friends,
Right,
like
right.
handing out free tickets. And so the pressure was on, but also, you sort of surf that wave when you're there.
Yeah.
And what you can do, you do it, and just to keep a balance. It's tricky.
So all of a sudden you're in a different world. You're going to college at Cabrillo. You're working at Moe's Alley, which maybe you didn't know at the time, but it's a pretty famous local venue. And all of a sudden, every night, some nights it's random bands. Other nights you're like, who is this? Who are these guys? They're terrible. And then others you're like, oh my god, this is an idol that I had their posters on my wall. And all of a sudden now you're
Yep.
meeting them and you're hanging out with them. And what were some of those artists that stood out to you where you were really like, whoa,
Oof.
I can't believe this is my job?
Yeah, I gotta say a crazy moment and super special for me was having Jason Newsted, the bass player of Metallica.
Oh wow.
He lives in the Bay Area, and
Yep.
he wanted to play Moe's Alley with his kind of like rock blues band, and him playing guitar and singing because he's a singer and he
Yeah.
rocks. So he brought his band, Jason Newsted and the Chop House Band.
He's Latino also, right?
Uh well, that's the new one, Robert Trujillo.
Oh, that okay, yeah, yeah.
That's the new
You're
one.
thinking of the original bass player from
Yeah,
Metallica. Oh,
that's
okay.
that's who Trujillo replaced.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Jason Newsted, who I saw live in 1999 in Mexico City
Wow.
with 100,000 people. It was madness.
People don't realize how big of a metal
Somebody
scene there
threw
is
a
in
stick at
Mexico.
him and hit him in the chest. He stopped playing, and he was spitting water. He was furious. I wanted to bring that story up, but I was like, no, that's a terrible idea. Don't
Yeah.
tell them that. But just getting to sit down with him at the end in the office to pay him out for the night, and like I had him sign some posters for me and my brother, and oh man, you don't know how special that was to
Very
send
cool.
that poster to my brother.
Oh,
And he
nice.
like cried. He's like, oh my god,
Yeah, yeah.
because he's a
That's so
huge
cool.
fan of him in particular.
You mentioned obviously a lot of random people just hitting you up to hook them up. And that same thing happened to me over the years.
At
Which
the
was a
Fox
frustrating
Theater.
Fox or at the festivals, Cali Roots or whatever
Oh,
it
that's right,
was, or
because you
Emerald
worked there.
Cup and for some friends it's fun to be able to help them. For others it gets annoying, right? Because you can tell the people that are genuine, the people that are not. But then there was those others that you you had opportunities to do really special moments for, whether it was for comedy or for music, and they didn't even ask for it, but you were able to kind of create a special moment for a family member, like your brother. You sent him that poster, or even for my brother and I, we had some people that we were a fan of that we were growing up with, and we're like, man, can you believe that we're hanging out with people that we used to watch on TV or movies? And just little things that weren't like huge deals, but to us it was. It's like you might not notice them walking down the street, but it meant a lot to us. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was one of the most special things about working at Moe's.
Yeah.
To have moments like that, it made it all worth it. It made it, like, all the crazy side and the tough sides of the job made it all by far worth it. And that's how I ended up staying sucked in there 16 years,
Yeah. Wow. 16 years.
16 years I did there.
For those that don't know, maybe for those that have thought about getting into the music industry, either on the business side or on the music side, what separates like the professionals from the amateurs, in your opinion, not besides musical talent?
That's a great question. It's definitely been, first of all, hands down, having a great sound.
Yeah.
That's priority. Once you have that and well rehearsed, great musicians and a tight group of people and a team, and just like a team.
Yeah.
The next step would be getting organized, having your EPK, having, put on an album out, create a brand.
Yeah.
Brand is huge. People love to see an image with the sound and video, something that matches. And even creating a brand is like writing music in itself. It's creative. It's very creative. I love that part of it too. And then just, hopefully getting someone that has the contacts, like a manager that can book you a tour.
Yeah.
So you can get your name out there, and then just be prepared to sacrifice and hustle for like 2-3 years investing. I call it investing, because you're investing all that time. You're not going to be making much money. You're probably going to be losing money if you're on the road. That's
what people don't realize when they're asking for free tickets and free merch, is that like it costs you every time you give that away.
I know, right? It's like people see you on a, opening for a big name. They think you've made it, and like you're making a lot of money now. It's like, no, man. Even the headliners, they got their struggles, and they got to pay out record labels, managers, talent agencies,
bus drivers,
hotel rooms, all the drinks you buy to the chicks, after the show,
Yeah, totally. Now, I think too, it was funny because some of the biggest names were some of the nicest people, some of the most humble professional managers, right? Organized, sent you the email, sent you the contracts. When they showed up, they were very professional and very easy to deal with. And then some of the openers who you'd never heard of were the biggest prima donnas, the biggest attitudes, the biggest problem with their guests. You're like,
yeah.
This
crazy,
this
right?
Grammy winner isn't even giving us a hard time, and you're giving us a hard time. Who are you? I don't know. But
that's a good point, Jordan, that you bring up. It's like an attitude, a really positive attitude, and being humble and a team player with everybody around you.
Yeah,
is super key.
Yeah.
Otherwise, nobody's gonna want to work with you. They're gonna get tired of you, and people are gonna have second thoughts on booking you if you're really like a nightmare like that.
Yeah, and people have a reputation, and sometimes people can be so popular, their music is so good that it can overcome that. But if you're, let's say if a venue has a chance to book person A and person B, and person A is easier to deal with, they're going to go with that, right? Unless person B, there are some artists that are so great that it doesn't matter how they treat you, because they're that great that they can get away with it.
You put up with it. You're like, it's part of the genius.
Yeah, exactly. So that is a thing for sure. So, okay. So you started playing in a few bands, you're finishing up school, you're working, crazy hours, because people don't realize when you work in music and entertainment and hospitality, you're basically a vampire. You go to work when everyone gets off work, and you go to bed when everyone's getting up for work. So how did you do that for 10 years?
I started Moe's right after I finished school, so I didn't have to go to school. But at the time, I was doing all sorts of odd jobs, including washing dishes at Paula's restaurant on Portola, which that was a breakfast place.
Yeah.
And I did that for like a year. And I'll tell you, that was a tough year, but it was one of the funnest years at the same time because I was constantly just hustling and working.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, washing dishes is not easy,
No.
especially being tall. This
Yep.
sink at the sink at this place was so low that I had to have this really like wide stance so it wouldn't hurt my back. So I was like,
Yep.
just dealing with that all day.
I'm 6'2", so you got to be what, 6'4", 6'5"?
6'6".
6'6". Dang.
Yeah. Everything's shorter for me. I'm not complaining or anything, but there's a funny picture of me with my stance, like my feet like this, and then I'm just hustling washing dishes. And then I would go home, eat some food, and then go to Mo's Alley, and I would do that, repeat for like a whole year. I did that, and it was great because I got to save some money and then see what I can do with that. Which,
what are some of the bands? I think the first time we met, I mean, we had a lot of mutual friends, but the first time we met, I remember seeing you a couple of years ago at, I think you were playing with either Thrive or Santa Cruz or both. It was at the Felton Music Hall about 4 or 5 years ago, right before the pandemic, right at the beginning of the pandemic. And I remember seeing you there. Oh, this is that guy, and that kind of put it all together, and it was great to meet you then. But I know you've played with Thrive, you played with Soulwise, you played with Santa Cruz. What are some other bands that you played with locally?
Before Soulwise, I was playing with Coastal Sage. That's how I actually got the gig as Soulwise. I got asked to play with with Animal Cruz.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember Mo.
Yep.
Shout out to Mo.
Yeah, he had Planet for a while.
Yeah. He's still doing it. He's doing a lot of solo gigs.
Yeah. He hosts the great open mic at the Catalyst, and I was just talking with Dan from Dub Soldier. He was saying that's how he got his start, was one of Animo's open mics. He just was jamming, and that's kind of how he got it. His first time performing, he was like thrown into the fire. So yeah, that's cool how all the different stories kind of intertwine,
Yeah, it was actually Mo. He booked me to play guitar for a show, and then he booked AJ from Soulwise. And then AJ saw my sound, heard my sound, and he was like, dude, I want you to play my band Soulwise. And the rest is history.
Shout out to those guys, man.
Yeah, shout out to the AJ and Soulwise guys.
I remember doing some shows with them, I think as a promoter or helping them at the festival or something. And with Kevin, my dad is originally from Juarez. My dad's family came from Juarez to Watsonville and grew up in Watsonville. And they grew up with a guy named Mike Eichhorn, who was like an MLB pitcher. He played in the major leagues for the Indians, I think, or the Cardinals. And I remember we were at a basketball tournament, and my dad was like, "Oh, you see that guy over there? Like, we went to school with him. Like, he played in the major leagues. Tell him we said hello." So I'm like, "Okay." So I went over. I said, "Hey, my dad and my uncle Vernon say hello," and he looks over and he goes, "Oh shit," they were childhood friends, but here's this guy came back home from the big leagues. And then I remember seeing that name, and I'm like, "Is that your dad?" I think it's his uncle or something. So I think Kevin's uncle or dad.
Oh, Kevin's dad. He was a pitcher at the Blue Jays.
Yep.
And a few others, even.
And then I know Kevin and AJ also were pretty serious baseball players, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. AJ played professional in Japan, and made a decent living doing that. And also Kevin, he was pro.
It's hard when you're trying to keep. I give credit to anyone, whether it's sports or music or acting, anyone who continues a passion they started as a kid into their adult life, right? Because it's so easy to be like, well, time to give it up now. That's for kids. It's time to get serious and get a real job, whatever that means. And so for those of us who have still taking care of our responsibilities, but also still maintain that like passion through sports. A lot of people end up coaching if they can't play anymore, but through music, the beautiful thing is you can play even as you get older. You don't have to give it up like you do sports.
Right. You might even get better.
You might, hopefully you get better. Right. So kudos to you for keeping it going.
Yeah. I mean, this is why my intention to move to the States was like, I'll either end up as a sound engineer or a recording engineer or, playing or performing, and I studied sound recording at Cabrillo, also a lot of music classes, jazz, just to get my chops better. And I also studied graphic design, which was my plan B. My dad always taught me, man, like musicians are, 80% of them starve to death, dude.
Yeah.
You know, they'll get a lot of love, man, but they won't be able to pay the bills. So it's like, it's always good to have a plan B. So
Have
I
a
did
skill
that.
in your back pocket. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, I used it for like making flyers to the day, you know.
Absolutely.
Halfway through studying that, I realized I don't really want to sit in a computer, you know, every day to design stuff for other people.
Right.
So I kind of dove in the music side of my life after that.
That's awesome. And at what point did you decide to go full time as a musician?
Well, it started with Mo's.
Yeah.
You know, after having second side jobs and being full time at Mo's, I started playing in bands. But it's hard making a living playing in bands,
Right.
unless you're touring and fully committing. And I wasn't ready to jump that, you know, take that leap of faith and hoping it
Well,
would work
there's
out.
two paths, right? So you can be in an original band, an artist, and really commit and be
Yeah.
touring and doing all that, or you can just be kind of a cover band that does wineries and weddings, and they actually make a lot more money.
Yeah. Which
But
is
they're
what
playing other people's songs usually, you know, and they're
yeah,
playing
which is
longer
exactly how Santa
longer
Cruz
sets.
started.
Instead of 30 minutes opening for a big band, you're playing 3 hours of covers. It's a different thing.
And filling that tip jar, you know, in front of the stage. You know, that's basically how Santa Cruz started. We started playing in the pandemic, and it was at a time where everybody was really hungry for music.
Yeah.
So it was really a great time to start a project and start playing out, because everybody wanted it so much.
Well, good for you, because a lot of people were freaking out, you know, that worked in hospitality or venues, because overnight all live music was shut down for months.
Yeah, I mean, I got let go from Mo's Alley because they couldn't pay me anymore. They couldn't pay anybody to keep the bills paid. They had to let go, and you know, that was scary for
Yeah,
sure.
of course. So that was kind of the pandemic that almost kind of forced you to do what you probably wanted to do anyway, which was music full time, right?
That's exactly right. It was like a blessing in disguise, because I wasn't ready to give up, you know, the comfortable, exciting job at Mo's Alley. But when it happened, I was, you know, when you stop doing something that you think you love, but then you stop and you're like, you realize, oh my God, this is even better now what I'm doing now,
Yeah.
which is playing music for me. It happened like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, my brother and I have been playing with Renee for, I don't know, about 12 years or so. And, you know, off and on, and we've had our different spurts of more, you know, more engagement. But after the pandemic, same thing. She moved back from Hawaii. She was there for a couple of years, and she just was like, that's it. Like, I got to go for it. You know, we're like, okay, let's do it, you know? And so we were just doing little wine bars and little, you know, kind of background coffee house music as well as like a trio. And then she did some recordings. We recorded a couple tracks for the EP. And then it was like, oh, shoot, like we need to, you know, so this band kind of started to assemble. And with AJ and with Boer and with Cam, and so different friends and Alex, different people played with us over the years. And shout out to Silver, who recorded those first couple songs. And then Renee
no
also,
wonder it sounds so good.
Yeah, right. She worked on a couple on her own in Hawaii, and it was kind of like, okay, I think there's something here. We played a couple shows, but of course, life happens, life gets busy, and then it kind of came back around again, like, hey, let's get serious. And then, you know, you were able to come join us, and it was like, oh man, this guy's really good. It's like, you know, because my brother and I, you know, we've developed into decent musicians, but we didn't really have training or go to music school, or, you know, it was just kind of all by feel and by ear. And that's how we work together. But then all of a sudden we start bringing in these real serious musicians. It's like, oh, we got to step our game up. And so it's been cool for the past year.
Well, you're killing it at
jam together,
Jordan. It's a
Thanks,
pleasure
man.
For me to play with you, brother.
So how did you first connect with Estrella, and you know, let's talk about now as we're heading into a busy spring together. Like, what are we looking forward to here in 2025?
No, man, I'm so excited. We're gonna play Cali Roots and Mountain Views Festival, Mo's Alley, and soon to come a new one that I don't know if we should announce, but
no, we can't announce that one yet. But
okay, cool,
there's others in the works.
yeah. I love that. I love a little secret, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Well, the first time I met Renee Estrella was when she came to play with Pacific Roots that was opening for us at Mo's Alley. I was playing with Soulwise.
Yes.
And it was a double bill. Pacific Roots was gonna play first, so she was there in the green room, and she was gonna do a song with them. So like I saw the play, I heard her sing, and I was like, dude, this is great. So I
Yeah.
introduced myself. I'm like, my God, like I gotta check out your music, and I checked out her music, and I told her, if you ever need a guitar player,
Yeah.
please call me.
I love it.
And she did, she did
You
later
know,
on.
I got to admit that the last few years I've kind of laid back because I've just been busy taking care of other things. But when I
I
was
know
younger, that
you have so many projects.
well,
My hats
yeah, I
off to you,
do.
brother.
I do. But I remember when I was younger that was what made me successful, was that very thing. I was at shows, and even when I was tired or it didn't make sense, I found my way to the right places at the right time. And every time I sacrificed and was there, I met the right person, and it led to whether it was in the band or business or whatever. And so that's awesome how it just organically happened, the mutual friends, and it just like, came to be. And then we played
Yeah.
a show last year. We did like the Cali Roots pre-party, and that was really fun. But we're excited to find out the news of all the big shows we have coming up this spring, and then we're like, oh shoot, we better get serious. So it was always kind of nerve-wracking, like, oh man. So but once we started to practice together, I think we all kind of looked at each other like, yeah, this is coming together.
Oh, we got this.
It's one thing to to have a vision or to talk about it, but when you start to really see it come to pass, and I know that it's a big deal for Renee. She's really excited, and she's been working for years to get to this point and written those songs. And that's, like for me, I played with a bunch of different artists, but with her, not only is she like a sister, but also it was like, dude, she's really good when it comes to the lyrics, the vocals. I'm like, it's easy to sing. It's hard to sing well and to write songs. Writing songs is not easy.
That's right. That's right. It's not every day that you find an artist that not only can sing and write music really amazingly, but perform it live.
Yep.
With grace and enthusiasm and like that X factor, which you see when you're on the crowd, you're like, oh, they got something special, and she's got that, and for me, it's like an honor to be part of your guys'
Yeah.
team.
No, it's all
and,
of us, man.
and just back her up so she can do her thing too,
Yeah, and I think we all have that same feeling of like, we have something special. We're grateful to be part of it. And you know, eh, you working in the industry and seeing a lot of different acts come through with a mid-sized venue, like you mentioned, whether it's Catalyst or whether it's Moe's. Moe's is a little bit smaller than Catalyst, but similar kind of demographics. A lot of times in this area, because we're in between major markets like LA and the Bay Area, a lot of times we'll get artists that are up and coming or has-beens. We don't the huge names are usually playing the sports stadiums, right? The huge
Right.
pop stars, but we get those kind of up and comers or the has-beens in this market, and which I'm perfectly happy with. But it's exciting to kind of feel like, oh shoot, we're one of the up and comers now.
Yeah.
It's cool to like play a wine bar or coffee shop, but or a birthday party or whatever. But now it's like, oh shoot, like, yeah, you know what? We've earned this. We put in the time, and we haven't all done it together at the same time, but we've done it collectively. And now you're feeling and seeing that synergy of, over a decade of work that we've all put in, some together, some separately. It's all kind of coming together, and you can feel it and you can hear it. And so I'm super excited for all the shows that we have coming up because people are going to get to see it. Some of people are going to see us for the first time and be like, wow. Then other people that have been with us from the beginning are going to go like, holy shit, you guys have gone to another level. Like that's the response I hope to get, because that's how I feel when we're practicing. Like, dang, it feels like another level,
Good, man. No, I'm really enjoying and like getting just fed all this energy every time we play. I come home and I sleep like a baby, and the next day you just feel great. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think we've all, you and I have been around, played in different groups, and also been, working in the industry. So like we can keep it honest and keep it real. Like you know when something's good and when it's not, right?
Yeah.
And what I appreciate is that everybody kind of comes prepared, and everyone isn't afraid to like speak their mind and say, hey, let's do this, let's do that. Or that doesn't quite sound right. And it's not easy to get two people, let alone six people, to agree or to put their ego aside at the door and just really come through and collaborate on something. And it's been really cool experience. So I'm excited to share it with people, because I know we've all been kind of like tweaking it and kind of trying different things, and it's exciting to see what it's evolving into.
That's great, man. I know you've been there since the beginning, so to see you guys, react and enjoy it. It means a lot to me because you guys been working on this for, like you said, a decade. And I love figuring out what dynamic I should stand in when I'm in there. And you're totally right. It's like I'm learning so much just from playing with you guys about your, even personally, yourselves. And
Yeah.
I love it.
I've seen, and that's why I'm excited, because, and this is why we have the momentum, because I've seen other bands where, it was a one person show and they were a dictator, and it's like my way or the highway, or,
right.
No, this
like
is
a
how
James
it's
Brown kind of situation.
Yeah, this is how it's done. We're not changing, and what I love that we have going on right now is that synergy and that vibe where it's like, hey, even though we've done it this way, what if we try it this way? And it's like, oh, you know what? That's actually better. Let's do it that way.
Right.
And no one cares. It's like, it doesn't matter where the idea comes from. We just want it to sound and feel the best. And I think because we all come in with that mindset, you can feel it. It's
Right.
sounding, it's getting better, it's getting better, it's getting better. And that's a mistake a lot of other artists make, a lot of other bands make, is that they get so set in a certain mindset, or their ego is attached to the way that it was, and they're not open to evolving. And that's why some are a flash in the pan and they have a one-hit wonder, and they don't continue to evolve and continue to get better. And the artists that do, they're all-time greats, right?
Right. I think it's key to always be open, no matter how successful you get. If you don't stay open, you're going to stop growing. Or, it's music is kind of like you're channeling stuff that doesn't really belong to you. That's what I believe.
Your conduit.
So the moment you start like letting your ego dictate what you think you should put out, that channeling gets disrupted. And if you're not open to your other musicians, and especially if they're talented like you guys, you're going to miss out on like some potentially really good ideas on a song or whatever it may be,
That's really well said. Don't get in your own way.
Yeah, you gotta get out in your own way. It's like
get out of your own way.
Like praying is like God, get out of His way,
Yep.
Get out of your own self.
So,
but yes, I agree. We're a great team.
It's coming together, and I'm excited to share it. So, tell us about kind of what your thoughts are for spring and summer, and what maybe any other future plans or other projects you're working on right now.
Right now, I'm excited. I'm releasing a single with this band that I've been playing for, my best friends for years. The project's called Más Épico, which means more epic. And we recorded a bunch of music, and we're finally putting it together. And our first release is going to be this Friday
awesome.
at noon. Yeah, okay. A song called High Notes.
Nice.
So, I want to give a shout out to Dan and Chris Huff from Más Épico. We're really excited for this release.
Perfect timing for this interview. Then we'll make sure to release it together so we can get the word out.
Oh, sweet. Thanks, Jordan. Yeah, I appreciate that. For me right now, I'm really enjoying just releasing music. In the past 2 months, I released 2 singles of my own stuff.
Nice.
Just because it's so the creative kind of output is so good for me. I look forward to it. It inspires me. Yeah. I stay inspired. And also playing new music it feels good.
Yeah.
I've been playing a lot of the same songs for since the pandemic, and it always feels really good when we bring a new song to the menu.
Yeah.
And it's like fresh, like the days where you started,
Yeah.
And I love that feeling. Every musician, I think, can relate to that.
Totally.
So as far as that, I'm really excited to be in the Estrella team and play the shows that we got coming. I mean,
yep.
Cali Roots, it'll be the second time I get to play it, but this time it's going to be, I believe, a bigger stage. I don't know if we can even announce that either. But last time I played it was 2 years ago with Soulwise on the OG stage.
OG stage, yeah.
Which is the smaller one, which
that's amazing where it started, sound. Man. That's where it started.
That's where it started.
I remember
That's
Revolution
where the first stage
Tribal
was,
Seeds
right?
on that stage. Yeah. That stage has some legends on it as well. But it's exciting to expand to a little bit of a bigger platform and audience. Very cool. Well,
another thing I'd like to share too. Just finished booking it today. The beach party at the Crow's Nest for Soulwise. Yes. And I give a shout out. I think we're gonna play the opening one, the first one.
So it's
in
impossible to
next
find
month.
parking there. At the Crow's Nest, parking is this whole situation of its own. But it is the most epic party of the summer in Santa Cruz when you guys
That is
play at
true.
Crow's Nest. You guys and Matt Massey and the Messengers, either one of those
Yeah.
shows at the Crow's Nest is quintessential epic Santa Cruz summer. Like, go there. So what is the date
That's
for that?
awesome. May 29th.
Ooh, okay. So right after Cali
coming up.
Roots.
It's a month and a half away now, I guess. I think it's the first one. I'm not sure, but we just finished booking it today, confirmed,
Awesome.
and we can announce it. So yeah, that's another fun one. I hope you can make it, man. It'd be great to see you.
I'll be there. Well, that'll be a great way to kick off the summer with Soulwise at the Crow's Nest. Also, you can catch us with Estrella at your former venue, April 12th, opening up for Third World. Great. I know you helped set that up, so thank you for that. So that'll be just an amazing experience getting to open for Third World. And of course, we got the Mountain Vibes Fest as well. So check out Estrella for those announcements. But where can people find you and your projects and your upcoming dates?
You can find my music on Spotify and Apple, Bruno Proal. You can follow my Instagram at Bruno Proal too, and follow, the Estrella, obviously. If you're not following that, definitely follow that.
I think it's Estrella Music 831.
Estrella Music 831, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And, my other projects, Santa Cruz 831, Soulwise Music, and Pacific Grown is another great project. Another single we're releasing on 420 this month.
Awesome. A shout out to Josh and the team over there. Yeah. We used to play I played with them, Booer, my brother, at different points we've all played. And that's what I love about the scene here in the Central Coast. And a few of the people that we've had on the podcast have been part of that. And it's this community of people of musicians who just want to bring, good vibes and a good experience to the community. And it's been really cool to see how it's grown and maintained over the years. And now we have people bringing their kids and their grandkids to shows. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, how many kids you got, Jordan?
I have no kids yet,
okay.
But I have some nieces and nephews. But I have a lot of friends with kids that are like nieces and nephews, but it has been cool just to see how this type of music, this kind of Cali reggae, whatever you want to call it, really brings everyone together, right? Because even if you're more of if you like Latin music, or if you like metal music, or if you like hip hop, everyone can kind of agree on Cali reggae.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the thing that brings a lot of random people together.
That's true. I've never got to sell Mozali out until I played in a Cali reggae band, which was Soulwise. But in all of my bands before, which wasn't reggae, we barely sold half the house, Yeah. There's a big market for that. And totally. I'm just grateful that we're tapping into it. And awesome. The music's amazing.
Yeah, well, I'm grateful to know you these last few years, and grateful to finally be playing together on a bigger stage. And I know it's going to be a fun spring and summer for 2025. So thank you so much for your time and your contribution to the whole scene, man. I know a lot of people have had a lot of good times over the years because of you, whether it's at Mo's Alley, whether it's at one of your shows with the bands that you play in. So I'm excited to do that together now and bring it together. It's going to be a fun summer. So I'm excited. Let's stay in touch, and I'll make sure to get this out before you release your music on Friday so people can know more about it.
Right on. Thanks, Jordan. Thanks for having me.
Take care,
and I'm
man.
stoked to be playing with you, man.
Have a great night. Same here. We'll see you soon.